Hey everyone, it's Summer Rayne from Homestead, Brooklyn. And I know you couldn't get enough of Richard the cacti guy last week, so we have another Cactilicious episode prepared for you. But this time, we get a little up close and personal with cacti. That is, getting to know their anatomy a little bit more, which Richard is well versed in. So I hope you enjoy this 33rd episode of Plant One on Me, Field Trip Edition. So I'd love to go over a little bit of the anatomy of a cactus, because when people think about plants, they often think about foliage plants, and cacti are a little different. So if you could just take us through that, that would be great.
Okay. To illustrate some of the basic shapes of cacti, one could divide the entire family of cacti, or Cactaceae, as it's referred to in Latin, into three main divisions: Cereus, Mammillaria, and Opuntia. And coincidentally, those three divisions pretty much map out the three basic shapes that cacti come in. Cereus would be the columnar cacti, the cacti that grow straight up and then branch with side branches, ranging in size from this little 18-incher up to the giant saguaros, which reach 60, 70 feet in height.
The iconic
cactus with the arms that live 250 to 300 years. But you're talking about the same basic shape of a main central branch, central trunk, as it were, and side branching. A variation on that is much shorter, stumpier central columns that is covered with a much denser profusion of little offsets. So this would roughly be equivalent to the tall column with the arms. This is a shorter, stubbier column with smaller, more globular offsets. This would be in the Mammillaria family. And this is closer to the other main shape of cacti, which is a round ball, as opposed to a tall column.
And do these ever grow up into a tall column? They always stay as a ball.
They always stay somewhat short. They may slightly elongate and become something, as in the case of this golden stars cactus, which is Mammillaria elongata in its botanical name. They get a little bit longer, but they always stay much more self-contained than the big, tall cacti that are reaching for the sky. And the interesting thing to note about cacti, as opposed to other leafy plants, is that a cactus, through thousands of years of evolution, has shed its leaves in order to conserve moisture and to remain compact and sort of hunkered down, as it were, in a very hostile environment, so that a cactus is a totally stem organism. Big, tall, columnar cactus being a big elongated stem, short, round cactus being a globular stem. And it is shown demonstrably that the most efficient shape for water conservation is the round ball. One might conjecture that it's a later development, a later stage of evolution of the cactus plant, as it is becoming more and more efficient in its survival mechanism of storing water under conditions of extreme drought. The other shape, which can be seen in this plant, is the flat-jointed pad type cactus that is also very characteristic of the desert landscape. And this grouping is known as Opuntia, or prickly pear, that sort of resembles the fingers of a hand. And in this prickly pear cactus, we can see all the joints, how they come off of the main central stem. We can see the spination very clearly. We can see the flower as it develops on the top of a pad. And this is not open right now, but it's a clearly defined flower receptacle and a closed flower bud that, when it opens, will be a very nice 1-inch diameter yellow flower, characteristic of the Opuntia family. The other anatomical feature that is very important to consider is the areole. This is the feature which is characteristic of all cacti. Some cacti are round, as we've seen, some are tall and columnar, some are pad-like, but the one thing that they all have in common, besides the fact that they store water, is the areole. Some cacti are spineless, others are full of spines. The spines grow out of the areole. But even when there are no spines, even when the cactus is perfectly smooth, we still have areoles. And the areole is the unique characteristic that marks the cactus family and distinguishes it from all other plant families, including all other succulent plant families. No other organism, no other plant organism anywhere on the globe, except cacti, have areoles. And the areole is very similar. The only thing I can compare it to, it's very similar to our own hair follicle.
Yeah, exactly.
It is almost an independent window into the internal portion of our body, into our body, from which our hair grows. In a cactus plant, it is the opening from which the spines grow. It is also the opening from which the flowers emerge. And I've had it said that it is actually also the growing point of every plant, that growth emanates out from the areole.
So is this flower actually emanating then from an areole?
From an areole.
Yeah.
It is actually coming out of an areole. In fact, you can see a spine sticking out there where the flower receptacle kind of crowded the spine out, pushed it aside, and emerged right up out of the areole.
And then where does the cacti breathe? Like, does it have stomata in the same way the pores of a plant? Does it have
Good question. The cacti have much more primitive stomata than the more faster growing foliage type plants. They have stomata, but they function in a different way. They are closed during the day to conserve moisture, whereas all other plants, their stomata are breathing during the day, emitting oxygen. Cacti, their stomata are closed during the day, and they actually
emit the oxygen.
Their oxygen
at night.
At night.
Yeah. I also noticed that the areole, mammillaria, they have very seductive names for Latin.
Yes. Well, mammillaria, coming from the Latin for mammary, and named because of the structure of the plant. Instead of jointed, instead of it being ribbed, as in the case of most columnar cacti, have a clear ribbing up and down, which also serves the purpose of aiding the plant in expanding and contracting. Expanding during periods when it's soaking up water during rainfall, contracting during dry periods when the plant is dehydrated and has to shrink in order to conserve its moisture. The mammillaria having tubercles, thin spiraled projections out from the body of the plant. And one of the common names for this particular one, which has very pronounced tubercles, is Nipple Cactus, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And here we see a flower emerging from an areole. We have areoles at the tip of the tubercles, and we have areoles in between the tubercles, and the flowers emerge down inside from in between the tubercles.
And if we were to turn one of these cacti inside out, what does it look like on the inside? Is it woody? Is it similar to like a trunk? Because you had called it almost like, you know, the stem or the trunk, if you will.
Yeah, well, with age, cacti usually become quite woody, starting at the base and gradually spreading upwards as the plant ages. And if you chop a cactus, you can see the woody quality of the base of the cactus, and then in the case of tall columnar cactus, you can see the actual hard vascular bundle that goes up through the cactus, that is the circulatory system for the cactus, and which also provides the structure and the strength for the cactus to grow upward and be able to maintain its erect bearing. And when cacti in the wild die, frequently after all of the soft tissue dries, the hard, woody, vascular bundle remains and survives the actual life of the plant. And the vascular bundle of the giant saguaro cactus is so big and so strong that it was used by native populations as the supportive structure in their teepees.
Wow.
Actual cactus wood.
Wow. Yeah, it's impressive. If you want to check out Richard's cacti, then you should visit him every Saturday at the McCarren Park booth. Tell him you saw this video. I hope you enjoyed that episode of Plant One on Me. Stay tuned next week because we have one more episode with Richard the Cacti Guy. In the meantime, if you like this, please subscribe to the channel, or you could follow along on Instagram at Homestead Brooklyn or on my website at homesteadbrooklyn.com. Ciao!